They've charged your son with distribution of narcotics.
What?
I send it, you receive it. I send it, you receive it.
I love the smell of them bread.
I send it.
They whiter than some mayo. And I can send them to your house through the mayo. This is drug dealing music.
I send it, you receive it. I send it,
I love the
you receive it.
smell of them bread.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What the Hell Happened to Them? Dwayne The Rock Johnson saga marches forth in earnest. And thank goodness my co-host this week is, Jack-O-Lantern.
Hi, I'm back.
Well, you were back last week, weren't you?
I was.
That's right, I'm talking about Joe Vekeman here in the house. And of course, on the audio boards, we have Lev Van Rensselaer, twisting the knobs and minding the dials that keep us sound so slickety smooth. And our sponsor this week is Butane, powering, cool flip lighters since 1943. Butane, it's a beaut. Joe, what movie are we doing this week?
Snitch.
All right, and we'll go into a synopsis, but first, you may know that we have a new email now at whathappenedtothemcast@gmail.com. Well, we got another email this week about last week's episode, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so here it's okay. It's mostly directed towards me.
Okay.
Patrick, you don't know Josh Hutcherson, but I know Future Man, seasons 1 through 3 now available to stream on Hulu, is your favorite show of all time. You never stop gabbing about how that masturbation joke as the inciting incident in the pilot is your favorite piece of comedy ever. Well, there's a little bit of facetiousness in there, but do you know what the show is? I've never heard of the show.
Sounds like it.
You do? You know it?
It's a Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg produced show, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes on it.
Oh, I see. Well, now I know.
I saw a little clip of it
Yeah.
from Regal 20 or whatever they call it now.
Okay, 3 seasons, though. That they must have done pretty okay. All right.
I mean, it did better than that Path show with Aaron and Paul.
Oh,
that got
yeah,
canceled
yeah.
right away.
Their attempted, Emmy bait. I guess you know what you're getting with Seth Rogen comedy, though. Certainly not for me, but so Josh Hutcherson. So Josh Hutcherson is in this show. That's all right. That's pretty. He's getting around. Okay. Well, thanks for writing in, and of course, always, if you have any thoughts, questions, queries, comments, or any other such thoughts, please mail them to whathappenedtothemcast@gmail.com. All right, Joe, so for Snitch, do you want to dive into a synopsis?
Yeah. All right, here we go. A father goes undercover for the DEA. That's the Drug Enforcement Agency. Is that right?
Yep.
In order to free his son, who was imprisoned after being set up in a drug deal. I thought he was the stepfather again because I was having the hardest time looking at the screen during this movie.
Oh, wow.
I realized I really miss going to the movies because I feel like I could pay a lot more attention. I have just too much going on.
It's tough to watch things at home when you're a family man. I get it.
Yeah. If everybody's in the house, it's like, I'm going to have to watch this movie in pieces.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really good for me to be like, yeah, no, family needs to go aside for a minute. This did not do that. Let me just tell you right now, this movie cost $25 million to make.
I kind of buy that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a nice, decent size.
That's a great budget for a film. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, it paid off. It made $57 million.
Yeah, see? They're not trying to shatter records here. You throw in a little money, you make a lot of money back. These producers walk away with after P&A costs, I don't know, $20 million, maybe 15. That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
This movie grossed the same amount as Tenet did in the U.S. Tenet costs a lot more.
Yeah, I know. So this is what you effed up, Hollywood studios. Shot yourself in the foot. You've set up yourselves to fail.
And you know what they did to solve that problem?
What?
Oh, their big billion-dollar movies are going to streaming.
Oh, of course. I can't wait for the right to pay $20 for a movie on a streaming platform that you are paying monthly for, Joe.
Oh, no. These movies are going to HBO Max for free. All of their big movies like Dune, the Suicide Squad sequel.
Those aren't going to recoup their losses. What are they going to do?
Yeah, all
they're
these
screwed.
Like, giant movies are going just to HBO Max. Like Wonder Woman is just going on HBO Max. If you have the subscription, no extra cost.
I don't know why they can't hold on just hold on to them. Like, what are you're not.
Where are they going?
Yeah, you're not. How much are you losing just by like sticking or holding on to it? Like, you're not gaining a lot of money by putting them on HBO Max.
Yeah, let me tell you something. When Wonder Woman comes out, people are going to go see that movie. That's a movie that people want to see. The first movie made almost $1 billion.
Yeah, like we're not going anywhere. Just don't make any new things. Just hold off. Just wait, guys.
I agree. I think if we actually did a real shutdown for once, like a real shutdown, and we just kind of like chilled out and we didn't like do anything for like a month, things would go back a little quicker than they are now. You know how they're not, and we're regressing and going back to phase one.
Well, yeah, this is what's impressive is that like how quickly we forget. Like as soon as a state says like, okay, you can kind of go outside and play now. They're like, yeah, that means the virus is over. And they said, no, you didn't let us finish. And then they finish and say, you still have to keep 6 feet apart and blah, blah, blah. And then they go, nope, no virus. I don't see it. And they go, what? So, like, I don't know. To a degree, I still blame us, the audience in America, for not respecting the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't see it. And so we pretend it's not there. I don't like, or like we think it's just not going to affect us because, like, I don't know. We're those assholes in a zombie movie that think we're special. I don't know.
Yeah, we suck. And so does this movie. What do you think?
What? So you had told me that you had bought it like accidentally instead of renting it. And then when I went to go and rent it, I was like, oh, does that mean the rent price is like super cheap? No, the rent price is the same as the buy price. That was not a good sign. That was not a good omen of the movie that was to come. But like the movie's fine. Like it's not insulting like Journey 2. In fact, but the one disadvantage that this movie has over Journey 2 is having like 23 extra minutes of movie that I did not need.
Yep.
But like it's fine. It's competently directed other than like this one weird scene where like the lawyer first comes in and talks to the two parents and explains the situation. There's some weird editing there. But other than that, like it's a very finely constructed movie. It's just, I never once care about anything that's happening here. And I'm mostly just being held on the line by, recognizing people from TV that I like.
Like that guy from the class?
The guy from the class, I know. I was excited when he popped in the background, but then he was gone. I'm like, But then he ended up being a big part of the movie until he wasn't. Yeah. So there you go. There was the guy from the class. There was the guy from The Wire.
There's the guy.
And the guy from Lost. And there you go.
What about Susan Sarandon?
Yeah, okay, but I don't really think of her as a TV star. And I also think, when I saw her, I go like, I think you're too good for this movie, Susan Sarandon. But, this movie has a very clear political agenda, and she's sort of into, that type of filmmaking. So I can get, it looks like they probably had her on set for 2 days. So I think she could spare 2 days for this movie and, a relative paycheck to fight for something she believes. I can imagine that backstory.
Yeah, I mean, it is saying, sending a pretty good message, saying what's really going on with the prison system.
Well, it's like this odd law, and what was sort of interesting about it was that the example that they use is white. It said that this was based on a true story. Was that character also white? Is like that how this kind of happened?
It says I don't know what their
ethnicity
is, but it says the true story of the movie is about James Centembrino, who in 1992 helped prosecutors by giving information about other drug dealers in order to get a lower sentence for his son Joey, who was also sentenced to 10 years due to mandatory minimum sentence.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I've actually,
this act was introduced in the Anti-Drug Abuse Act was introduced in 1986.
Correct.
By Democratic Texas Representative Wright James C. Jr.
Yeah, I've actually had a long sort of grudge against these types of things because I just think they're sort of, one, not solving the problem they're supposed to solve, and two, sort of bureaucratic nightmares. And you kind of see some of this Kafka-esque stuff play out where, like, the government has convinced the son's friend to, like, implicate his friend, the son, who has never once dealt with drugs, to become a drug dealer kind of for 10 seconds, and then they can arrest him for 10 years. And so I'm thinking, why do we want to create more drug dealers where there are none? Like, this feels like an odd, Orson Welles-ian labyrinth we have entered into. But so here's my hot take that nobody ever sort of wants to go with whenever I bring it up. Let us just legalize and regulate all drugs. Let's just do that. Let's rip that Band-Aid off, and we don't have to worry about militarizing our police or enforcing these borders so strongly or spreading this kind of fear about drugs coming in from down south. There's no need for these cartels can't sort of function anymore because now their main source of revenue has been legitimized and is being done safer and not being cut with random crap. So let's just do that. And I know what... And tax it. Even better. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Pat, what about all the sort of the bad stuff that's in there that we're going to be allowed to be selling to the American public? Well, I would say to that, we're already doing it. The FDA is allowing it all the time to happen just in our cereal aisle, let alone the majority of the aisles in our grocery store. And the cereal we're feeding to our children, we're feeding them poisonous sugars and trans fats that are actually damaging their brain. But we're okay with that, and we're okay with cell phones, which ever since their advent of the cell phone and the smartphone, the sperm count in the Western world has decreased 50%. And there's likely a link between all the power lines and telephone lines in our suburbs and the growing amount of cancer. So if we're already okay with all these things, plus cigarettes, plus alcohol, plus marijuana, then just let's just do it all and we'll go from there. That's my hot take.
Damn.
Right? And then we don't have to make this movie anymore because it's over.
Yeah, I've seen this movie a lot.
Yeah. Yes. There was wasn't it? The Clint Eastwood movie was called The Mule, about a mule, a drug mule. Like, let's be done with it. I'm over it. Sicario. Let's just move on.
I liked Sicario. I know you didn't, but it's okay. You brought up Clint. I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about his new movie?
No, what new movie?
He's got a new movie called Cry Macho. I think I definitely told you about this.
I don't remember this title at all.
Clint's 90 years old. He's going to be starring and directing Cry Macho.
He's got so much energy. It is insane.
And you know what's great?
What?
It'll be on HBO Max next December. It's a Warner Brothers movie.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, if I could be as active as Clint in my 90s, I'd be a happy man.
In your 90s?
In my 90s, yeah.
Like 60 years to go, right?
Yeah. I gotta make it there first. So, yeah, definitely, I get, it even has like a little call to action at the end. It's a little too in your face at times, except in the third act when it decides to become an action film for some reason.
Yeah, where they're like on the highway shooting out tires of the 18-wheeler that he's driving.
Yeah.
What do you think of rocking this? Was he okay?
No, I mean, a little bit at the beginning, but then... And I was just like, oh, maybe he's like found something here. It's not much, but it's something. But then, like, as the movie went on, like, he just was feeling strained again. Like I think his range is just very narrow. But I think what's in his range, he's starting to get a better hold of. And so that's probably how he's going to transition into sort of the box office giant that we sort of know him as today, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a fan of drama Dwayne.
Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of Dwayne comedy chops. We really haven't seen any like straight out like comedies that he's done.
Well, we've seen the family friendly ones, which, you know,
Yeah, I'm not talking about those.
I can't fault him for being bad at. I don't know who could be good at them.
Yeah, he's got a couple coming up with Mr. Hart.
Oh yeah, he's the Rock Kevin Hart quadrilogy. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Amazing.
Kevin Hart often annoys me, but you know,
comedy.
maybe he's okay. I don't know. We'll see.
I just want to get to the movie that they starred in that I was like, oh, The Rock is good again.
The Rock.
And I hope it holds up. I liked it when it first came out. I haven't watched it since.
The Rock co-produces
this. Problem with most of these movies.
The Rock co-produces this movie as well. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. He's and I went to go find some like behind the scenes stuff for it because I'm like, I just gotta find like a reason why he was like attached to this for something. And the behind the scenes video I found was a WWE produced video where he's like showing up to the arena and they're like asking questions about the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I didn't see their logo attached to this movie at all. There was no like WWE Films like studios.
Yeah, I know.
Like branding on it.
You're certainly, especially starting with Journey 2, you're kind of seeing The Rock trying to get a little more marketing savvy, which is sort of a tact I wouldn't have expected him to take. You know, a lot of action stars could kind of like sit back and kind of let the money come in until suddenly it doesn't. And they're like, but The Rock's sort of kind of planning, and maybe he has a good manager, or someone like that kind of helping him navigate his career. But he's definitely working hard to find a way to make himself more relevant in the climate of the early last decade. And it clearly paid off, as we know now, how the story ends. The Rock. Yeah, you know, and I like that we get a good chunk of, we haven't sort of seen exposition like this from a Rock movie in a while where we don't realize that his parents are divorced. Like directly, and like it takes sort of navigating their conversation when they meet up at the jail or wherever that place is, for us to kind of piece that together. I like that, you know, we kind of had to work for that. They have to over-explain everything else afterwards, so but like that was a good scene that they had there. A little too much jargon in this movie for me to always be able to follow what's going on, so dumbing it down might have helped me. And lastly, it felt odd that The Rock leaves the prison. He's mad at the mother of the son. And he says, I always knew something like this was going to happen because he babies her. And I go, you always knew your son was going to be framed for a drug bust because his mother was a helicopter parent? That was your takeaway from that scene, The Rock?
I mean, he's very intuitive.
I don't know how anyone would know that. But then, like, that conflict with the mother never really came into play anymore because we kind of focused on, like, The Rock hanging out with a guy from The Wire and guy from The Class and, like, doing wacky drug movie. Well, I guess first he has, like, he first just goes to, like, some inner city neighborhood and he's like, you got the crack. And then they jump him because, you know, he clearly doesn't belong there, but...
Yeah, and he asked for crack, and they were in a cocaine neighborhood. Yeah,
and then there was also like there's the former undercover cop helping him, and Susan Sarandon helping him, and like the movie could end halfway through, but the guy wants to go for the bigger fish, and Susan Sarandon's like, "What, you idiot? We just needed to get him and be done." But then 10 minutes later, they switch, and she's like, "Oh yeah, let's get the big guy," and the other guy's like, "No, he's in way over his head," and that fell a little out of nowhere for me.
This whole movie felt a little out of nowhere to me.
But mostly it was fine. It was moving along. That this third act is sort of a little odd, where you know now guy from The Class is kind of shooting up the minor drug guy, the guy from The Wire, but so that they can get the, you know, El Tepo's, whatever, the drug king, I don't know, something like that, the drug kingpin's cell phone number. So whatever, I don't know.
Oh, are you talking about Harold Perrineau?
Yeah, the guy from Lost.
Yeah.
Who was in it for, I was like, oh, look at the guy from Lost, but he was only in that one scene.
El Topo.
El Topo. Yeah, what has he been in?
I don't know. You said El Tepo. His name is El Topo.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was close.
Yeah, no, I was
El
just looking
Tupperware. Yeah.
El Tupperware.
Yeah. He keeps all the drugs very fresh.
And they had Hellboy himself, David Harbour.
That's not Hellboy.
He's the new Hellboy.
What? There's a new Hellboy?
Good Lord.
When
they made a Hellboy last year.
Last year they made one?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they need to fill up their bad movie inventory.
They're just like, they go through their old library and they're like, all right, which one haven't we done in a while? Oh, look, Hellboy. Let's dust that off. Let's try this again.
Let's not let Guillermo del Toro finish up his trilogy.
Well, the second one I don't think did very well. But they're like, but maybe this time audiences will buy it.
Well, hold on. The second one didn't do very well because I believe they released it a week before The Dark Knight. What fucking morons. Oh, yeah, let's release our big superhero movie before the biggest superhero movie that will ever
Listen,
play.
they didn't know it was going to be that big. All right, Batman Begins was sort of just a modest success.
Yeah, but that movie was tracking huge.
Yeah, well, it certainly helps when your star actor dies during the filmmaking. It really adds to the apocrypha of it, which is legitimately the reason why I think it was Oscar nominated for Best Picture. Because if he didn't die, he wouldn't have, that movie wouldn't have been, and probably he wouldn't have been as an actor.
It wasn't nominated for Best Picture. That was the big thing. That's why it went to 10 nominees the next year.
I thought it was, and I was like, what?
No, it was just nominated for like a couple of like under awards, like I want to say score. Did it get nominated for score? I'm not sure.
That's all right.
Yeah, definitely best supporting actor, obviously.
That movie overrated. Not wildly overrated, but certainly overrated in our culture.
Good. I watched it again for like the Nolans this year.
It's good, but that's what it is. It's good. Too, but it's good. The end.
It's good. Yeah.
But you get people who's like, oh, great, awesome. Is it possibly the best superhero movie made? I mean, yeah, probably. But that's not a high bar to clear. I actually like the third one better than this one personally.
Well, that's a hot take.
Yeah, I know. Most people go like, what? And I go like, yeah, a little more interesting, a little less talking down, a much more interesting arc for the Batman character to go through.
Wow.
Than this, like, are people basically good or evil? Oh my goodness. Which one is it? Everybody's telling me one or the other. Oh, now the director's forcing me to know which one is true. The end.
Do you have a Bane impression?
No, I do not. I'm not very good at impressions.
Well, you did a Jimmy Stewart.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much the only one I think I can do.
So all you have to do is kind of muffle it.
Yeah. Bruce, you think you're an ally of the dark? I was raised by the dark. That's just Jimmy Stewart.
Thank you, Jimmy.
If Jimmy Stewart were in The Dark Knight Rises, that's what you would get.
I would bring him in as the Riddler.
Yeah.
You meet Jimmy asking riddles.
I don't know. Does the Riddler have any quotes? Any memorable quotes?
Riddle me this.
Riddle me this, Clarence.
It's just Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, but when the angel he becomes the Riddler, and then like the angel helps him see like, what if I've never become the Riddler? And like they get to see what that life is like. And then in that life, he needs to see what would be like if he never was born.
And what if was Batman a thing before It's a Wonderful Life came out?
No, I don't think so. I think Batman was like a Depression era kind of thing. Here is my impression of the Riddler. Smoking.
That's good. I like that. It's on point. Yeah. Batman. Yeah. I'm excited about the new Batman.
There's another Batman?
God damn it.
What, again?
Aren't you in Hollywood right now?
With Ben Affleck again?
No, it's with Robert Pattinson.
Well, one that sounds like an intriguing casting choice, which makes me think if those guys are doing that script, it must be kind of good. But then I'm thinking like, I'm sort of bored with Batman. I don't need another Batman. I'm like satiated on Batman for a while. I need like a 10, 15 year Batman moratorium. That's what I need. Let's take a break.
I don't think we've had that since before the 80s.
I know. Like, since Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Right?
We had one in 89, 92, 95, 97, 2005 was the longest stretch.
Yeah.
And then we get 2008.
Yep. 2012.
2016.
2018.
17 for Justice League. 2017.
Okay.
And then that's been our Batman.
And now you get all these Snyder cuts of stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which, let me tell you, if watching those movies and thinking that they were terrible, the thought in my mind was like, if these movies were longer, I'd bet they'd be good.
Yeah, that's all we need. More movie.
Yeah. All right, go on. What movie are we talking about this week?
It doesn't matter. The cast for the new Batman movie. You need to know this.
Yeah.
Pattinson.
Okay.
Bat.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz. Catwoman.
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
She's... I don't know. Look her up. Paul Dano. The Riddler.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Colin Farrell. Penguin. And he's made the fuck up.
This movie feels too stuffed now. It's too many supervillains already.
No, because I've heard the Penguin is kind of a background character.
Oh, they're setting him up for the sequel. Gotcha. Okay, I love it when they do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey
it's my
Wright.
favorite.
Commissioner Gordon.
Okay. Who's that?
Andy
Who's that?
Serkis. What's that?
Who's that? Who's Jeffrey Wright?
Jeffrey Wright. He was in Westworld. I think you've seen him in that.
Oh. I don't know who anyone is other than the old guy, Ed.
Or Andy Serkis. He plays Alfred.
Why is Alfred CG then?
No.
Is it like a robot Alfred?
No, he's just a young Batman, and he has a young Alfred.
Okay.
Andy Serkis can be an actor. He was in the Black Panther movie. Didn't you see that? No.
I guess if I did see Black Panther, but I would have no idea who he was in that movie because I have no idea what he looks like.
He was like the secondary villain. He was the guy that had a claw hand, and he had a crazy haircut, and he was talking with a crazy accent.
I don't even remember that guy. I don't remember that guy at all.
All right, are you ready for the last one?
Yeah. Okay.
As Carmine Falcone, John Turturro.
Yeah, again, that's another villain in sort of the Batman universe. Like, this is like this is like when they're like, "Hey, Godzilla movies are better when you just stuff monster after monster in there." To which I would argue, not true, because the best Godzilla movies, number one is Shin Godzilla, number two original Godzilla. Neither of them have an opposing monster in them.
You brought up Godzilla.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. King Kong going to HBO Max next year.
That's good. I'm glad I don't have to pay for that movie now, because I would have, and I would have been annoyed by it.
Yeah.
And like, that the boring Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston, not actually that bad. And probably I would want to watch that again over King of the Monsters. You just need to give us more interesting human characters. And like we weren't bored because in the first Godzilla because there were no other monsters for him to fight, or there were barely any other monsters for him to fight. We were bored because you killed off your interesting character 30 minutes into the movie and you still had an hour and a half left to go. That's why we were bored.
I liked none of that movie, and I know I should have liked it a little more, but I was just not into it. I don't like Aaron Taylor Johnson.
No, yeah, he's not. I don't know. I'm okay with him, but like he didn't do anything. He's just like, all right, I'm a soldier now. He didn't do anything. He didn't say. He was just sort of our excuse to watch the monster battle. But I need more than that, and I need more from Elizabeth Olsen than just being like, I'm the woman. I have to care for the child. I'm a nurse, though. All I can do is caregive. That's all we can do. Like
it's really funny. They played brother and sister a couple years earlier.
I know, right? A couple years. Yeah, in that Ultron, that Age of Ultron movie. Yeah. So, that is fun. That did amuse me when I saw them in that movie. But Elizabeth Olsen, very talented actress who has made very uninteresting choices since entering into Hollywood. Unfortunately. I wish she did.
Just kind of had a strange bag. Like she was in that Old Boy remake, which was awful.
Yeah, but like Spike Lee's directing that. All intents and purposes, you would sort of hear, prestige film, and Spike Lee, and you would think like, oh, kind of maybe an interesting art film. Clearly wasn't, but like I could see someone making the mistake, you know, because what has she done? She'd done like Martha, Marcy May Marlene, and then, you know, now she's like, what do I do next? And like that feels like an old boy feels like an intuitive direction to take if you didn't look sort of deeper. Yeah, if you didn't look under the cracks, you know, a critically acclaimed movie, critically acclaimed director, undervalued director in American cinema. So like, it makes a lot of sense. But then like after that, yeah, it's Marvel movies. And that'd be fine if she did these, like grabbed her paycheck like Robert Pattinson and then went back to the indie world. But I don't think she's sort of gone back ever since, has she?
Not really.
So that's unfortunate.
Spike Lee's worst movie.
I think it would have to be. I think he would, like, that's his Dune.
It seems so compromised the whole time. And I'm like...
Well, I think it's just a bad idea from the get-go. I just don't know why he, of all people, wanted to do that movie in the structure, that in the financial structure that he did it in.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Although... After he did that, he's just been on an upswing, so maybe he just needed to get that
out of his system. Yeah, probably. I don't know, but yeah, his recent movies have been great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Snitch, you snitch. You snitching?
Yeah, we snitching. This might be the least amount of notes I've had in a movie. Like this is the Ron Howard of Rock's filmography.
I want Ron Howard to do a Rock movie. We need a backdoor pilot.
Like there was just nothing really to talk about here. I went on my little rant about drugs, and like that's it. Like the end.
That rant though.
Yeah.
Definitely get us some points.
I try to like because here was the effed up part, right? Because back when marijuana was getting legalized in Massachusetts, where we're both from, and where you still currently live, the town I was in at the time was like very anti like the pot shops that had opened up. And I say this as a person that has never smoked marijuana and has no desire to. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. It's just not my thing. But I have no problem with people who do it. Is that you would go to these town hall meetings. And I'd hear like all these like mothers would go up of like elementary school, middle school kids. And they would be like, what if, you know, some of these marijuana products, they look like little gummy snacks. What if our child finds one on the side of the road or on the sidewalk and eats it and gets high? And I think to myself, well, that sounds like a failure on your part because you have taught them to eat food they find on the ground outside. So like that feels like something you should do. And then, you know, my other thought was, what if they go into your fridge and open up a bottle of beer? I don't know. Like the stuff's already in your home. It's already in the stores. And then I went up to the podium and here was my big rant was that 2 incidents happened outside of my house within a 4-year gap. 2 incidents. One was on New Year's Eve when a drunk driver drove through our fence into our lawn and almost at our house and hit people's cars that were parked there. And those cars were probably the only thing that kept it from going through the house. This drunk driver that then we went outside to check if he was okay. And he just sort of stumbled out of his car and ran away from us because he knew he'd effed up and he was screwed. And then the other incident, the much more devastating incident, was that, you know, a couple years after that, down the street, you know, a little bit further down the street from my house that I lived on at the time, was like a 5-year-old boy was riding his bike and was hit by a car driven by a drunk driver. And then like the bike and the boy were dragged for like a half a mile because the guy was so drunk he didn't even realize he had hit this kid. Like, and nobody after those incidents was like, we need to get rid of all of the alcohol shops in our town. No more booze. We're a dry town. They were just like, yeah, whatever. And even worse, the guy driving the car that hit the kid was like an illegal immigrant. So everybody was like, get rid of all illegals. And nobody was like, get rid of drunk driving? Like nobody was like going after the real culprit. Like, so I went out there and I said that. So I said to everybody, what are you afraid of? Because it's already here in our town. It already is here. But I was like, whatever, I don't know, 25, 24 at the time. And like the people who go to town hall meetings, they're all parents. They're paying into the school systems. They're paying property taxes. I was not at the time. So like nobody just sort of took me serious. It's like, oh, you're just a young kid who wants to get high. We don't care. And it passed, and all the people who were allowed to open up stores under the Massachusetts law had to get kicked out. And like they hadn't paid back. They had just been open up for like 2 months, and like they were screwed because the town wouldn't have them anymore. Like and these are like family-run businesses. It was just ridiculous. So, granted, heroin and crack, like these things are much worse and do a lot more damage to people. But like, you put a stupid warning on your cigarette package and you call it a day. So just put a giant sign on the window, be like, heroin causes brain damage. The end. Like, well, then now you know the risk and you took it anyway. I don't understand. Like, the dangers of our town are already here. Our frozen food aisle is a nightmare of chemical byproducts and GMOs, and we're fine with it. So, like, this isn't any different. It's just like this old habit that we're stuck in. Let's deal with a rough 20-year transitional period as all the people who aren't used to these drugs being legal get used to it, and all the resources that we were doing to militarizing police and to enforcing arcane laws and to clogging up our prison systems. All those resources and funding can go towards fixing a couple of the wrinkles that come from legalizing the drugs. It's a net gain, everybody. No more fear-mongering, everybody. That's my thought.
I love that.
Yeah, that's my shots fired. There you go.
So good. It made this episode good.
It was the only thing worth talking about in this whole movie. That and my confusion of Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon. Are they in fact the same person? Who knows?
I think Leo just needs to do his space movie, and then they can go into a space-time continuum. And then we can have it.
Yeah.
They each have because Matt Damon has his solo space movie where he's just alone in space. Brad Pitt had his last year where he's just alone in space looking for his daddy.
Yeah.
And then Leo's going to be like, all right, who do I call up? Who's my guy? Scorsese, you ready to make a space movie?
Oh, yes, that Brad Pitt space movie. Biggest letdown. And that's partially my fault. I shouldn't have bought into the hype. Because I'm usually good at toning down expectations. I went in with too much hope. That was my fault.
Do you think if they got rid of that voiceover that you'd be better off with it?
I mean, that probably is a jump in the right direction. I think that certainly would help. But when you come and you say like 2001 Space Odyssey meets Apocalypse Now, I'm expecting a fucking awesome movie. And what I got was like, I don't know.
Did I say that to you?
I don't know if you said it to me or a critic said it to me, but somewhere I'd read that, and that was like my decision to go see it in the theater. I'm like, oh, okay, this might be kind of pretty great. And I should have known as soon as I read that like, there's no way it can be that movie. That movie can't exist. That would be impossible for that movie to exist. And
I would say
yeah.
It's more the kind of hopeless journey of Apocalypse Now in space, but I would never say 2001 because it doesn't have those like big ideas.
No, I know. So what that movie is to me is like a B- movie, but I went in there and being like A+, yeah, and I like it a lot. I like it a lot better than not a lot better, but I like it better than that Lost City of Z movie.
Ooh, you're slinging arrows now. I like that one. That's my favorite James Gray movie.
What has he got? He's got like 3 movies. You already have a favorite?
No, he's got like several movies.
Really?
Come on. Yes, he's been making movies since like the 90s.
What has he made?
So he's made, he made a Mark Wahlberg movie. Hold on, I'm looking him up right now. James Gray. The Yards with Mark Wahlberg. You've never heard of that one?
No, I've not. No.
Okay, so he's got The Yards. He's got The Immigrant with.
I did not like that movie.
I haven't seen it. I was excited to watch that one. He's got 11 movies. I guess 2 of them haven't been made yet. And never mind. Okay. So Little Odessa, which is a movie that looks like it has Tim Roth, Edward Furlong, and Vanessa Redgrave. Then he has
Vanessa Redgrave.
Yep.
She's got to be like 70 in that movie.
It's 94.
Okay, so maybe 50 something, late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah. Then We Own the Night with Joaquin Phoenix and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, okay.
And then he has Two Lovers the next year. I believe that has Joaquin Phoenix and Gwyneth Paltrow. And then The Immigrant. And then The Lost City of Z. And then Ad Astra. And then he's making new ones.
Well, The Immigrant was 2013, right? Around there?
Yes.
So is there a large gap in his filmography?
Yeah, he has a hard time getting movies made because his movies cost a lot and they don't make much money.
Yeah. That's a tough indie game to play. Big budget indie film. Tough.
Somehow Paul Thomas Anderson's figured it out, though, because his movies make no money.
But are his movies big budget?
I don't know.
I wouldn't call them. At worst, they're medium budget, but even then, I don't think they're that expensive.
But I don't think they make any money.
I don't think they make any money at the box office. But I think, over decades, they do make a lot of money. I think that's the advantage of that business structure. When I was coming up in undergraduate, an image that always stuck with me was this graph I saw about these two published works that came out in the 50s. And one was the Da Vinci Code of its time. And the other was the manuscript of Waiting for Godot. And they both came out the same year in the same month. And you could follow this graph over decades. And the Da Vinci Code, was huge, high up in the chart. And then, it inevitably trailed down over the span of 2 or 3 years and then disappeared completely. Where Waiting for Godot was very, very small at the beginning, but just kind of kept increasing, decades later surpassed the monthly sales of the original monthly sales of that Da Vinci Code and is still going to this day strong. So I think that's PTA's business model. And that's always been sort of my plan in filmmaking too, is to be sort of more culturally relevant for decades.
And you've got it. I know you can do it.
Well, we'll see. We'll get there.
Yeah, give yourself some credit. The next James Gray movie, let me give you this cast.
Okay.
Donald Sutherland.
That guy's got to be 80 years old.
I love it. Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
Anne Hathaway.
Yep.
Robert De Niro. Cate Blanchett.
He can always get stars. He scripts do pretty well.
That is his biggest starring cast ever.
That is crazy. I'm glad there's no more Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Well, he made some good Mark Wahlberg movies. They're better than the other Mark Wahlberg movies.
Yeah, great. That's another high bar to clear.
Well, would you rather have Peter Berg Mark Wahlberg movies, or would you rather have James Gray Mark
all right.
Wahlberg?
If I have to have Mark Wahlberg, then fine. James Gray Mark Wahlberg movies. You happy, Joe?
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Well, since we haven't talked about Snitch in the 40 minutes we've been recording, should we go to our last looks?
I don't remember looking that much.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. The Rock again, we talked about it briefly. The Rock trying to sort of savvily market his way into star status. Was this an attempt at awards bait or something? It feels like it could be.
It came out in February.
That's my theory, right? They made it and they were haha, and then they put it together and they're let's push you back into February where the leftovers go. We don't want you to take up prime real estate from the actual heavy hitters. But maybe that was the contention. Maybe it was something that The Rock cared about. He co-produces, so maybe he didn't mind starring in it. I don't think he's sort of effective here. I agree with you, Joe. I don't think his drama performance is very strong, at least yet.
I agree with you. I thought so too.
Yeah. So
he's not a good dramatic actor.
There you go. There's our last looks. Well, so we'd like to thank our sponsor, Butane. Don't drink it, I guess. Butane legalized, even though it's explosive. So drugs, just whatever. We'd like to, of course, thank Lev Van Rensselaer for keeping the audio boards well tended to. And, of course, let's thank Joe for stopping by this week. Thank you again, Joe. We know life's hectic for you these days.
It's hectic, but I love to be here.
And I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill. You can find my features, documentaries, short films, animations, film essays, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at quixoticunited.com, and presumably social media of a similar sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Joe, say goodnight.
Good night.
Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Better have my money when I come to collect. Better have my money when I come to collect. Pay up, pay up, pay up. I'll put that brick in your face. Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Better have my money when I come to collect. Better have my money when I come to collect. Pay up, pay up, pay up. You better have my money when I come to collect. Pay up. I got a bullet in the chamber and it's ready to attack.
So, Joe, you're kind of worrying me here. This Ron Howard, rabbit hole you've fallen into. You've been sending me worrisome texts all week about how much you love this Hillbilly movie.
I'm saying I love the Hillbilly movie. I'm saying
it.
It's not as bad as everyone else says it is.
Okay.
I think it's fine. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm saying it's not a bad movie. That everyone's saying it's the worst. I've read it's the worst reviewed movie of the year. I think that's crazy. There's been like really like trash releases. It's like just been a jumping ground. Whatever people didn't want to put in theaters, like maybe people will forget about this actually existed. And there's like big stars to attach to some of these movies, and they're awful. And they just put them out. And I'm like, you people need this. At least Ron Howard was like, I like the source material, and I liked, but I kind of scraped all the politics out of it because that's not my bag.
Yeah, I don't like to have an opinion or a personality, so
I also want to work on a Ron Howard impression if we do commit to this.
You want to work on a what? A Ron Howard impression?
Yes, we could do it.
What is it? He doesn't sound like anybody.
He sounds a little like country western. He's got a little like lilt to his voice.
He's still got a little bit of that Mayberry from his Andy Griffith days.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? So Ron Howard's your favorite director now?
He's climbing the charts now.
Is it like for you, Joe, now it's like number 3 Fincher, number 2 PTA, number 1 Ron Howard? Is that what you're doing?
Can't believe you're PTA under Ron Howard.
I'm just trying to gauge it based on the week of conversations we've been having.
No. I was just going through his, like I said, I sent you his filmography yesterday. Look at this killer run he had.
I would not call any of this a killer run. No.
1995, Apollo 13.
Yeah, very 96. Average movie.
He gets Mel Gibson right after he wins his Oscars for Braveheart for Ransom in 96. Then
not a great
he gets
movie.
Rising Star Matthew McConaughey for Ed TV a year after The Truman Show. But
also not a great movie.
Then he follows that up with a ginormous Christmas hit called How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, not a good movie.
And then he follows it up with his Oscar win for A Beautiful Mind.
Overrated.
I fucking hate that movie. It's so bad. But what a guy. Look at that run. And then he's just got a bunch of nonsense like The Missing. I haven't seen that, but I mean,
yeah, I think oddly looking at this list, why he did a documentary on Pavarotti? Why Pavarotti? Yeah. Why? I think looking at this list, I think my favorite of these, or the one I would watch again, is probably Frost Nixon. No, right? Frost Nixon.
Frost Nixon. Yeah.
I think I
saw that in the theater with my dad, and he wanted to kill me.
I think that's the only.
What the fuck are you doing?
I would certainly not watch The Dilemma, starring Kevin James, notable antagonist of the podcast.
It's too bad that Kevin James and The Rock haven't done one, because this could be like where we ride on Kevin James.
I do miss saying mean things about Kevin James, sort of out of nowhere. Like that was sort of the good thing about the Sandler films. Gave me an outlet. Like Rush might be one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. And it is forever. That movie never ends.
Yeah, I know a lot of people liked it, and I went to go see it in the theater, and I was like, what is everybody raving about this?
Yeah, I know. I went saw it there because I'm like, well, this is gonna get Oscar nominated, so I gotta watch it and see how it compares to the others. And I go, why is this gonna be Oscar nominated? This is just a regular movie. This is just a standard movie.
It's just one of them filler entertainments.
Yeah. I know.
Then we have a classic trilogy.
Oh, this Da
Tom
Vinci
Hanks.
Code thing.
Yeah, the Da Vinci Code.
I don't need any of
yeah.
those. I don't. I'm okay.
My story with the Da Vinci Code, though, because I never saw the sequels, but I saw the Da Vinci Code after we did a Relay for Life.
Okay.
In high school, and then I hadn't eaten anything all day, and I decided to go to the theater, and still was like, I don't need to eat anything yet. I'll wait till I get home. I had no money, but I was like, I have money for this ticket, and I had the worst migraine I've ever had during that movie. Yeah. And I remember I went to sleep about 20 minutes because I'm like, I can't bear it anymore.
So you didn't even want to get yourself some popcorn. That's so sad.
I didn't have money.
Yeah, though I can't at the big chain theaters. I can't eat their popcorn anymore. It makes me very like nauseated.
Yeah, they also don't sell it anymore because Corona.
Oh yeah, I haven't been since everything shut down. But like, I don't know. In the last year and a half or so, like anytime, like the AMC's and the Hoyts. I guess it's not Hoyt. Well, it hasn't been Hoyts in like 20 years. What is it now? Regal. Regal. Yeah, over here it's like Cinemark. Like anytime I go to those theaters, the popcorn just makes me very ill. So I can only do the small boutique popcorn. I don't know if it's the butter topping that they're using or whatever, but like I
have
can
you been
do
to
that.
Beverly before everything shut down?
No, I only got to go to the one theater where they were showing Satan Tango, where I spent my Sunday because that movie was like 10 hours long. It was like the Arrow Theater, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I've heard that's really nice.
I was so surprised that they screened it there because they only have the one screen, so that means I paid $11. Like they only charged us $11 for their one screen for the whole day. That's all they made was this one movie sale. I feel so bad for them. I had to buy like nonstop snacks from them because I just wanted to keep them like encourage them to keep doing things like this.
I think they do great because they have lots of Q&As there that people are attracted to.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it reminded me of that theater in Providence where I saw Tangerine, like that little one-screen theater. I forget what it's called, though. Do you know what the hell I'm talking about?
Cable Car Cinema?
What is it?
Cable Car Cinema?
No. Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't that one, though. There's like another one that's like more downtown, more close to Brown. Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but that one was good, too. Yeah, but Tangerine you could show like 8 times in a day. Satan Tango, like that's it. And they were kind. They gave us intermissions because you just need a break from the soul crushing apocalypse that you're stuck in. A great movie though.
All right, listen to this run though.
Yeah,
88 Willow.
No.
89 Parenthood.
No.
91 Backdraft.
No.
92 Far and Away.
Don't care.
The movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Established their love because they fell in love during Days of Thunder with Tony Scott.
Okay. I don't care about those movies either. All these movies, very like if they never existed, our world would be the same.
You can't say that about Apollo 13.
I could certainly say it. That might be the biggest argument against my deriding of Ron Howard, just from a critical level, but.
And Solo,
no.
Star Wars story.
I would know. I don't think most people liked Solo.
How dare you?
Okay.
He created one of the biggest stars we have right now, Alden and Ehrenreich.
I don't know who that is.
I can't believe you would say that.
I don't know who that is.
That just says something about Solo.
Okay.
No cultural footprint.
Yeah.
It came out 2 years ago.
All right. I'm going to abruptly change topic here.
That's fine.
All right. I've discovered this week as I was trying to remember movies that there are 3 people I'm always confusing, both the roles that they have played and the way that they look in my mind. Here are the 3 people: Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio. To me, they are largely indistinguishable.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I can confirm a source with you on this. Because I went to go see The Departed with a friend.
Okay, that's fine.
He had the same thing with you. Because you know how it's Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon, and he thought they were the same person the whole time. He's like, what? I don't understand the story. Why do they keep going back? Why is he a cop now? Why is he a rat? What?
I know. Yeah, that movie confused me too. Yeah, that was the problem. You know, as I look back at that movie, I was like, oh shit.
They do look a little alike, but I can tell them apart.
Well, I cannot. I have a hard time.
There are certain actresses and actors that I think look way more similar.
Well, we've had that issue with Catherine Hahn and Anna Gasteyer.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
That's so weird. There's also I've noticed that Emma Stone and Margot Robbie look very similar. I saw a picture because it came out that Margot Robbie is replacing Emma Stone in the new Damien Chazelle movie, and they put a side by side of those two, and I'm like, what are you replacing? There's no difference.
Yeah, I haven't had that issue. I wonder if it's their voices or I don't know. That their hair color is sometimes different. I think that helps me.
They're both blonde in the picture, and I'm like, they've chosen a different one.
Yeah, in my mind, Emma Stone will always be redhead. Even in like Birdman, when I remember her in that, I imagine her with the red hair versus the blonde that I think she actually has in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has blonde in Birdman because I think she was blonde for Spider-Man because I was shooting at the same time.
She was in Spider-Man? Which Spider-Man?
The one with Andrew Garfield.
The second wave of Spider-Man?
Yeah, second wave.
Okay. Well, I guess we should probably talk about this movie at some point.
I don't want to.
Well, let's just do it and get it over with.